Straight Talk with Chris Lee and Morgan McKenzie on 102 JAMZ.
Morgan about to get it together. We're going to be on Facebook Live.
Sorry, guys.
Facebook.com/102jams.com/Facebook. Let me get myself together. And so you guys can watch this debate between Algenon Cash, who is a Republican, and Mr. Kwame Apata, who is a Democrat. All right, so we're talking about what Trump has done so far. Let's talk about something. It's kind of light. It's really not light, but it's kind of light. It's not like the biggest deal in the world, but I just think it's interesting how so many people accused Obama of going on trips, and he's taking too much time out of the office. But I feel like every time I hear of President Trump having a meeting with somebody, it's in Mar-a-Lago. It's at his estate in Florida, and he's golfing with somebody.
Pretty sweet.
And his wife and son aren't in D.C.
No.
They're in Trump Tower, and we're paying for that.
We are.
We're kind of like paying his house note in a way,
and also adding to his profit line for his company.
It's just I'm trying to look at it from another perspective. Like maybe it isn't as bad as I'm thinking, but it sounds bad. Mr. Cash, is there any way you could clean it up for me?
No, I can't clean it up at all. I don't think my job is to clean it up at all. Look. I mean, the Constitution requires that we do have to protect the president and his family, and so rightfully, if the First Lady has chosen that she wants to remain in New York, the federal government is required to provide security at Trump Tower and to make sure her and her family and her son are protected. Just like we would do for any other president. This is the first time in history that we've had a president in office who was this wealthy and had an estate like Mar-a-Lago down in Florida and has these properties around the world like Trump Tower and so many large cities. So I think the optics of it is what a lot of people in my party disagree with. We obviously don't like the fact that $3 million a weekend is sort of what it's costing, anytime Trump goes down to Florida I think one weekend where he didn't go to Florida, he actually just went over to the new Trump Tower that's in Washington, D.C. So the optics of it are horrible, but it's the reality that's where we are.
Is there some sort of responsibility that I guess Trump should hold as far as even with yes, we should protect him and his wife, of course. But should he look at the responsibility of himself and his wife to make sure that cost is kept at a minimum as much as possible? I'm not saying not be comfortable and not have the best care taken for them, but should he look at that and try to make some changes based off of what we already have in our budget?
He should, and that would be the responsible thing to do. I remember President Bush when he, after we got into the war with Afghanistan and subsequently Iraq, President Bush was criticized for golfing too much, and I think that there was one interview that he did with the press while we were actually at war. He happened to be out on the on the golf course, and I think that after that event, after that incident happened, a lot of his advisors were able to get to him and explain to him just how bad this really looks. And although your intent may not be bad, the optics and the perspective of it is absolutely horrible. After that, President Bush never went out on a golf course again because he recognized his responsibility. Bush also liked to go to Texas and stay at his ranch down in Crawford all the time. He stopped doing that. He started going to Camp David a lot more frequently because he realized the responsibility he has. I don't believe that Trump, either he doesn't realize the responsibility or he may just not care, quite frankly. We have a country that is dangerously, we can talk about it, we can get emotional about it, whatever, but we are in a unsustainable debt situation. We have $20 trillion in debt. We're now operating at 106% of our GDP. That is absolutely unheard of. And we should be doing whatever we can to curtail the federal budget so that we can put some austerity in place and actually get this country back in the right position from a fiscal perspective. But when Trump goes on goes down to Florida every weekend at $3 million a clip, or when it's projected that it may cost us nearly $200 million if the First Lady was to stay at Trump Tower for the entire term. When those kind of things are happening, when we need to be having such a serious debate about fiscal austerity, it makes it incredibly difficult. It makes my job very difficult when I'm out at the grassroots level talking about how unsustainable the debt is, when the points that Kwame are making are valid.